Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me. It's wonderful to be here in Gdynia. And as we are so close to the seaside, I want to take you sailing for the next 15 minutes. So imagine that. You are in a boat. You are there with your team, with your boss. The whole company is in that boat, and you are sailing the sea. But there's a fog all around you, making it hard to see where you're going. How far is it? How do we get there? This ambiguity is the reality of today's complex world. It's hard to predict what happens next. And the pace of change has never been this fast, yet it will never be this slow again. I work at IDEO, we're a design consultancy, and a lot of our work is to help clients to navigate the future, which means in my everyday life, I find myself sitting in that boat, sailing the foggy sea with our clients. So what you can bring to that journey with you so you can make it easier? Maybe a compass might be helpful to see the right direction, a map to see what next step you need to take, a lighthouse, your final destination you're sailing towards too, and a North Star shining light on this whole journey. What does this mean in your everyday life? The North Star represents the company's purpose. It answers the question, why are we doing this? The lighthouse represents your vision. Where are we going? And what it will look like when we get there. The map is your strategy. How do we actually get there? And a compass represents your values. How are we going to treat each other on this journey? Today, I want to focus on the first one, on the guiding North Star, the purpose. So what is purpose? It's an answer to a question, why do you exist? But for companies, it's a little bit harder, because the question is, why do you exist beyond profit? What is the change you want to create in the world? And some companies are really clear about it and they say it loud, like IKEA or Tesla or Nike. And I'm sure here in Poland there are many more companies that are purpose-driven. But is it about a carefully written sentence? No, it's about the message it contains and that it signals inside the organization and to the outside world. But if purpose is for companies, why, as individuals, you should care about it? 90,000 hours. That's approximately how much time we will spend at work during our lifetime. And I believe it's better both for us and also our employers if we work on something that is meaningful for us. And purpose is not only good for our souls, right? It also impacts the business performance. There's a clear evidence that purpose-driven companies outperform the market. And for those companies, it's also easier to attract employees who share the same values and customers who believe in you and choose your product over anyone else. So today, I want to share 3 stories with you about what purpose can do for your organization, for your team, and for your professional lives. So let's start with the first one. If you shop clothes online, there's a high probability that you know Zalando. Zalando is the biggest online fashion retailer in Europe, and over the years it has grown rapidly. And with 16,000 employees, its leaders were asking, what's next? Where are we going from now? What is the impact that we want to have in the world? So Zalando's vision was to move from being an e-commerce site selling clothes to become a fashion platform connecting all the parties in the fashion industry. But to get to that vision, it was clear that it's important to bring the whole organization along with them. So Zalando came to IDEO, and our task was to help them to articulate the company's purpose and activate it inside the organization. That's quite a task. How do you approach it? What do you do? We are a human-centered design company, so of course, we started with people. All companies are made of people. So we talked to the old Zalando's employees, new Zalando's employees, to really learn about where Zalando came from, what is happening in the present, what the people working there in value, and how that might influence where they're heading tomorrow. So from all of this, a purpose statement emerged. Zalando exists to reimagine fashion for the good of all. But the purpose was always there in the company, and our task was to make it clear and put it into something tangible that everyone in the company can know. But how do you share it with 16,000 employees? We worked with Zalando designers to design a sort of 5-day-long exhibition, interactive exhibition that was called Festival of Purpose. So imagine people coming in and being enabled to play with and stretch the new purpose. For example, imagining what new products or services that would mean for Zalando, and what new improvements on topics like sustainability, workers' rights, or even choice of models for the website would that mean. This moment brought everyone in the organization on board, but the third step is still ongoing, and it will for some time, because it's about integrating the purpose inside the organization and let it guide Zalando's actions. So employees are now translating the purpose for their teams into their everyday tasks and objectives. All of that sounds like a lot of work, right? Why bother? I believe it's worth doing because company culture is the only competitive advantage that you cannot copy. So again, back to the boat. What purpose can do for you, it can mobilize organization towards your vision. For Zalando, that lighthouse, that vision was to become a fashion platform, connecting all the parties in the fashion ecosystem. So that's why the purpose of reimagining the fashion for the good of all helps the organization to move in that direction, and it accelerates their journey there. The second story I want to tell you is about Dr. Reddy's. So Dr. Reddy's is a 3-decades-old global pharmaceutical company from India. Over the 30 years, Dr. Reddy's built a lot of procedures, and a lot of for a good reason. But these processes also slowed them down. So when the new CEO came in, he saw the future of the company as being innovative, nimble, and patient-centric. A very good strategy, especially in the face of competition and the threat of commoditization in the market. So he wanted to evolve that culture, and he realized that will also take some time. So again, we worked together, starting with people, from shop floor workers to scientists, to external partners, to investors, to really learn what Dr. Reddy's stand for. So Dr. Reddy's exists because good health can't wait. 4 words, right? But what's behind them? It's a shift. It's a shift to patient centricity, nimbleness, empathy, sense of urgency and clarity. A clear signal that this is something that the company will value over everything else. And we talk a lot about the purpose on a company level, but what we really need to create are companies where teams and individuals are able to take the purpose and match it with their own capabilities. So one day, the new CEO really saw the little change, the little impact that this created in the company already. A scientist came to him and said, "I developed a new product in 15 days. That's crazy, because normally just getting the raw materials would take him weeks. But he was acting on that new urgency. And for him and his team, the new purpose translated into rethinking the new procedures, the old procedures, and really tried to accelerate the access to affordable and innovative medicine, because good health simply can't wait." So this is a quote from a senior leader from the company. "The moment we anchored our purpose in outcomes, good health, and not on activity or products, the purpose became real." So back to the boat. What purpose can do for you, it can accelerate your strategy. For Dr. Reddy's, that meant the new purpose empowered teams to take risks and accelerated their strategy of becoming patient-centric, agile company. Let me ask you, what do you value at your work? I remember the first day when I started at IDEO in Munich. I walked through the door, and on the left side, I saw this wall. All my colleagues there, and in the middle, there's the purpose of IDEO. We create positive impact through design. I felt like, ooh, it's not an easy task, right? So I got to my table and I found this book on it, this little red book. It's called The Little Book of IDEO, and everyone who joins the company gets one. Inside, you will find the 7 values that talk about the kind of culture we want to cultivate. So for example, take make others successful. We're not a huge company, we're around 700 people around the world. But if we really want to create positive impact, we need to make others successful. We need to enable our clients to really deliver on their purpose and make the change in the world happen. Talk less, do more is my favorite one. By training, I'm a product designer, so rolling up my sleeves, getting my hands dirty, and really trying to make ideas tangible is something that I really enjoy. There's even a saying in our company that you shouldn't show up to a meeting without a prototype. Embrace ambiguity, I must admit, took me a little bit of time. If I could choose a sea to sail, I would prefer a calm waves and a clear sky, to be honest. But over the time, I realized there's something about a little bit of ambiguity, because that's where from new ideas and new connections can often come from. So how does this, again, words, how does it translate into actions? 2 weeks ago, I was visiting our office in Tokyo. And the space looked a little bit different to a Munich studio. It's a little bit bigger, it's in a very busy part of the city. And the studio has different rituals, there are different clients, of course. But the moment I walked in, I felt the same warmth. And I was able to join my colleagues over there and start working with them immediately as individuals driven by the same values. So Munich and Tokyo, although 9,000 kilometers apart, are both strikingly similar in ways that matter and uniquely different in ways that inspire. So what purpose can do for you, it can amplify your values. For IDEO, the values drive our journey towards creating an impact through design. But also as a company, as any other company, we're made of people. People who came together driven by the same values, who were seeking for a place that would match their values. So, and I tried really hard, if I haven't convinced you yet, purpose matters. Purpose can invigorate your vision, accelerate your strategy, and amplify your values. But I know that you might be thinking now, well, I'm not in a position to influence the company's purpose. I'm not a CEO. Maybe it's been around for decades. That's okay. I want to show you there are ways how you can bring more purpose to your everyday life and to your work. You might notice from the 3 stories I told you that purpose exists on 3 levels. Zalando found a purpose that was always there in the organization. It just had to be said clearly and loudly. Teams and Dr. Reddy's found how they can take the corporate purpose and adapt it to their own passions and capabilities. And I told you my story about the importance of bringing your own values to the workplace and finding a good match. And I know that here in the room there are many of you who lead teams. You come to work every day trying to achieve something. And in large organizations, especially those with hundreds of people, the corporate purpose might seem distant at times. But as leaders, you are responsible for enabling your team to do the best work of their lives. Because you remember those 90,000 hours, right? I believe you want to spend them well. So I have one task for you. This evening, after a full day of inspiration and new information, I want you to do one thing before you go to bed. I want you to think about your team. I want you to think about the purpose of your team. Think about what does your team enable? Who do you serve? And why does it matter? And feel free to take a photo of this. I already see you doing this one. That's great. Or sketch it on a napkin, or write it into a notebook that you have. Tonight, I would love to see you at least give it a try. 5 minutes. Capture the draft of the purpose statement for your team. And maybe on Monday, that will spark a new discussions with your team. You can bring it to your work And maybe you can together think about a change you're creating in the world. And there's one really important thing about this, and that is purpose is shaped. It's not given. And you can shape it. So thank you so much for sailing with me, and I wish I could end with a picture of a clear sky and calm sea, but the truth is that the fog is not going to go away. But I hope today I showed you some tools that can help you on this journey. And so what else to say now? Bon voyage, happy sailing.